Hi everyone. So I thought I've not been inspired, interested, etc. to make videos lately, so I just haven't because I figured trying to force myself to do it wasn't working and it was making me more grumpy about it. So I was sitting down to do my makeup because I'm going to ballet today, and I thought, you know what, why don't I just turn on the camera and I'll record something and we'll see if I feel like talking or if I'm just gonna put my makeup on while I got the camera on. We'll see. So anyway, I realized that I had this new CoverGirl Outlast Active Foundation. I think it's supposed to be a foundation. Yeah, all day liquid foundation. And it says up to 24-hour that won't let you down, sweat proof, transfer proof, humidity proof. So I figured I'd give it a try. It's not, I mean, it's kind of an unfair test. I'm an extremely sweaty person. And I'm using this new medication. I'm on medication that makes you sweat more. So, like the sweat from ballet for me is intense, and it's like running, like literally running down my face for like an hour. So, I don't have super high expectations. Some stuff will stick. Generally, I don't wear foundation when I go to ballet. I have some posts on Instagram of makeup I wear to ballet, and it's generally eyebrows and tight line, eyeliner, mascara, lipstick, and that's it. And I mean, I could go with nothing, but since I'm so pale and my hair is a little bit darker, I just like to have some contrast. If I see myself in the mirror, I'd like to have some eyebrows and lips, and especially because I'm so sweaty and my face gets red, I just like seeing some definition on my face. You know, I'm in front of a mirror the entire time, so I want to look a little bit nicer for myself. So anyway, so we're gonna see how this foundation does. As you'll see me putting it on my face, it doesn't have a lot of coverage. I didn't put a ton on. I didn't like try to build it up or anything. But when I first did this side, I wasn't even really sure if I could see anything. But now I do feel like, oh yeah, it's definitely covering something, but I would say it's light to maybe light medium coverage at best. But it's so pretty. It's sitting on my skin really nicely. I only powdered a few spots that tend to get more oily versus like sweaty. My cheeks are pretty dry, so I didn't put anything on my cheeks. I feel like the color is really good. I mean, it might be a little bit dark, but that's fine because it's a lighter coverage, so it doesn't really matter all that much. I wasn't gonna put any blush on because I figured since it was so light coverage, it wouldn't really matter. But now that I have lipstick on, you know, I could put blush on, but I don't really have a blush that I feel like I know performs well in a sweaty environment. So when I'm at ballet, my face is gonna be red and flushing. So I'm not gonna put any more red on my face because what's the point of that? So, so as far as the other stuff on my face, besides the foundation, there are a couple different things that work really well in very sweaty situations for me. The Anastasia Dipbrow. I have a couple of these. This one's ash brown. I also have medium brown. This one I think is a tiny bit more cool toned, but it's not a huge difference. I would prefer something even just like a smidge cooler toned because it is like a tiny bit warm for my natural hair color, but that's all right. It's not a huge deal, especially if I try to go a little bit lighter and not super bold. The advantage to the Dipbrows is I haven't dyed my eyebrows in a really long time, and this actually it clings to my eyebrow hairs a little bit, so it's not as obvious sometimes that I've got this like fluffy blonde hair kind of in front of whatever color is back there. The other thing that works really, probably even better than the Dipbrow, because it's less prone to like smudging. The Dipbrow, if I touch my brows, it can sometimes transfer around, especially if I'm sweaty. But what works the best is the MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint, the pen part, that stuff is bulletproof. Like if you really need something to stick to your face, I find that really, really works well for me. But it's harder to get kind of like that more subtle look, especially at the front of my brows with a pen like that, unless you're using something that's a really light color. And you can just like full on fill it in totally, which honestly is what I want to do. I want to buy one of the lighter colors in that formula, just so I can like full on fill in behind the front of my brows and know that it's gonna stick. Because outside of like exercise situations, I have this like super duper overactive sweat gland behind this eyebrow specifically, and eyebrow products come off. Even Dipbrow, sometimes I have a problem when I'm like actively sweating trying to get something on that eyebrow. Sometimes I have a hard time getting it to stick, like ever. But the brow pen, no matter if I'm already sweating, it will just go down and look okay. The downside to the brow pen thing is if you kind of futz around with it too much, it will start, for me at least, it will start kind of like settling into my pores a little bit, which is kind of weird and can get a little like chunky, clumpy. Like if you can just kind of get it down, you know, if you're trying to do brow hairs, that's not a problem because you're just doing little individual strokes. But if you're trying to actually like do a little bit of a solid color fill-in type thing, sometimes it can kind of goop up a little bit. I've got like a lot of dry, flaky skin, and you know, I've got sunscreen that's probably a little bit clumpy in there and all that stuff. And sometimes I don't have problems with that kind of weird clumpiness with the Dipbrow, but sometimes I do with the brow pen. But those are two options that I feel like are really good for sweaty situations. So for, because I'm not doing any eyeshadow generally, normally I don't do anything on my eyelids. Today I did the Stila Shimmer and Glow in Kitten. This is one of my favorite liquid eyeshadows ever. It can, I mean, I have pretty textured lids and it definitely accentuates that texture a little bit, but it's not as bad as most liquid eyeshadows that are this shimmery. I don't have any fallout with this. I know this works well with sweat like dripping over it, which is like, sometimes it will feel like I'm crying almost because the sweat will literally like go down my eyelids and it's intense. But I find that that doesn't really budge with sweat. So if I do want to wear something like kind of a little bit more shiny and eye-catching without having to mess with eyeshadow, this is a good option. Usually though, for ballet, I don't put anything on my lids because it's just an extra step that I don't think is totally necessary all the time, depending on my mood, etc. But something that is for me necessary is tight line. So when I do just mascara, I have blonde eyebrows. I have blonde eyebrows, but I also have blonde eyelashes. And when I do just mascara, sometimes it looks a little strange. And my eyes look way more defined if I can just put a little bit of tight line there to connect where the mascara ends and then like the start of my, like the really base of my eyelashes and the kind of waterline area. And so this is a little, I can't 100% endorse just this product alone. So this is the L'Oreal Lacquer Liner Infallible Cream Gel Eyeliner, and this shade is Espresso. The thing is though, I had taken a Bobbi Brown Caviar Ink, whatever that product is called, sample and stuck it in here because I needed somewhere to put it because it was drying out because it was in just like a little peely thing. And then I ended up mixing it up. So it's like a combination of a Bobbi Brown black liner and the Espresso brown gel liner, and it's this beautiful texture, and man does this stuff not move on my eyeballs. I have the blackest black shade of this L'Oreal line, and I haven't had quite as amazing performance, so I think part of it is either this color works better for me on my waterline or just it mixed up with the Bobbi Brown. I really don't know, but this stuff, I take an eyeliner, it's itty bitty eyeliner brush and then just paint it on, and that will not move. It does not matter how much I'm sweating. It won't go. What tends to happen to me is a lot of like pencil eyeliners that I do tight line with, they will transfer a lot on my lower waterline. This does, but not as much. And the other thing some of the pencil liners will do to me is they will transfer in the corner and then like leak out the corner of my eye, and then I'll have a big black smudge just in the corner of my eye on the outside. This never does that to me, and it does not matter if I was like sobbing. It's just not going to go anywhere until I take it off. So all of these things on my eyes are a little bit harder to take off, which is kind of a bummer, but then I know they are not going to move, like period, no matter how much like sweat drips on them. So I feel like it's worth it for those like super duper extra sweaty days. Super sweaty days. For mascara, I use the Neutrogena HydroBoost Plumping Mascara Waterproof. So I had gotten this in a Target beauty box. This is not generally, I never buy waterproof mascara, but I had this in the Target box, and I thought, you know, I've got some mascaras that I know that hold up pretty well to water, things that are more like water resistant, tubing style mascaras, whatever. But this, what I like about this is that it builds up really easily, whereas the more kind of tubing style tends to be a little bit less dramatic, and I can get a little bit more volume from this quickly, though today I kind of struggled with it. I don't know what that was about, but this will look impeccable until I take it off. The same goes for the CoverGirl Clump Crusher Water Resistant, which is what I use on my lower lashes. Now, I can't build this up easily like I can the Neutrogena, which is why I just use this for my lower lashes. The wand on this one is just easier to maneuver on my lower lashes. It gives a pretty subtle effect. I've had many tubes of those. I like those for my lower lash line because I know they're not going to go anywhere, and I know the wand's easy to use, but I do find it a little tricky to build up on the upper lash line. And this is the wand for the Neutrogena. So it's the traditional style brush, and it just has bigger gaps. And the formula is like, it feels like it's a little bit more wet, but it's thick enough that it does build up. Yeah, both of those, I've had excellent experience with them holding up really well. So for lipstick, it doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, I can't say I have a ton of sweat on my lips, though. I mean, my upper lip does sweat a lot. I think it's sweating right now, in fact. But in order to make things easier, a lot of times on ballet days, I will wear one of these Maybelline Matte Ink lipsticks because I can put it on before I have dinner, and then know I'm not going to need to touch this up before I go to ballet. So my ballet class is at 7:15 in the evening, and that's like after I've made dinner, eaten dinner, cleaned up from dinner, and I just want to not have to deal with my face, just get changed and leave, kind of taking the least amount of time to get ready as I can. So it's just really nice to have like a bold, pretty lipstick, again, just to make myself feel a little bit more put together if I see myself in class. And these hold up really well to eating dinner, and they will still look lovely. And I know I can just count on them. It's a formula that there are certain colors that I know don't work as well for me, but there are colors that work really well for me. And generally it's the mid-tone to the kind of bright red type colors. The really deep colors and the really light colors for me have not worn as well, but anything that's kind of that middle ground in my experience wears really, really well. Will not come off basically until you take it off, except maybe a teeny tiny bit like on the inner rim if you eat something oily. And just kind of side note, my absolutely favorite lipstick remover, especially for those matte inks, because they do not come off with like just a cleansing balm easily. They will sort of come off, but not really very well. So I love this thing. I'm almost out. This is all I have left. It's the Maybelline Superstay Eraser. I also have a liquid lip color remover from e.l.f., which I actually have a little video about using it for those Maybelline Matte Inks. It works beautifully, but it's just harder to use because it's a liquid. They say you're supposed to use your finger to spread it around as opposed to the applicator. It's just messier. And this I can use to change my lipstick when I'm still wearing foundation, as opposed to that one where it tends to get outside of my lip line and will take off my foundation. So this is just easy and just as effective as the e.l.f. one. It's just a little more expensive. You go through it a little bit faster, and I feel like it's worth it. So if you're gonna wear those Maybelline Matte Inks, I feel like it's totally worth buying some sort of lip color remover, because this will make it so that you don't have to scrub your lips at all. You just put it on, you let it sit for like a minute or so, and then it will just wipe right off. No scrubbing, no nothing. And with those lipsticks, you really need something that is made for removing them, because I've not found any sort of like oil, lip balm, nothing that I've used really works as well as those on that particular formula. So that is, I think, everything, kind of my everyday makeup if I'm going to be sweating a lot, like pouring down my face a lot. I will report back how this wore either in the description, maybe pop in a picture, we'll see, and let you know how this did. Again, it's a pretty light coverage, so I'm hoping that it will do pretty well, because when I've worn other things that hold up well to sweat, like I think this L'Oreal Infallible, also the Fresh Wear, I feel like, actually, if we want to talk about it, I feel like these are really similar formulas. They both have an annoying fragrance, which I am not a fan of. This is going to be cruelty free, whereas this one isn't, so that's a nice option. And oh, I wanted to mention, this is in shade 800. I don't think that I've seen an 800 shade in the CoverGirl line. They had an 805, which is usually the lightest shade in their lines, like the Outlast 3-in-1, the lightest shade is 805. So that was kind of nice to see. Let me see if this has alcohol. You know, I know it has fragrance, but I don't know if it has alcohol. It's way, way down on the list as far as, so there is denatured alcohol in there, but it's very far down on the list, whereas the L'Oreal, so on the L'Oreal, the alcohol is the fourth ingredient, water dimethicone, isododecane, and then alcohol denatured. So, that's good, potentially, if your skin is dry or a little bit more irritated. However, the fragrance in this probably just as irritating as the L'Oreal. So not the best if you have dry, sensitive skin necessarily. Just kind of overall, but you never know. You never know. You really never know. So anyway, I will check back in at some point with some information, but other than that, I just figured I'd share with you guys what I've been wearing for ballet. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or comments. I hope you're having a great day. If you want to see more videos from me, and I try to make more videos, then subscribe, turn on the bell if you want a notification when I upload, because you never know when that's going to happen apparently lately. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you soon.
And go downstairs.
Okay. Did you turn your green light off?
Yep.
Okay.
I want to do video game.
Okay. Just give me a minute, okay? I'll be down there in a second.
And I'm going to do the race car video games.
Race car video game?
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love Pig, Puss, Cat, Car.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably pick Pig, Puss, Cat to get gas.
Okay.
Because Pig, Puss, Cat's race car needs more gas.
Mm-hmm.
Because he won out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to I'll get a lot.
Okay.
I love doing Pig, Puss, Cat.
Okay, I'll be right there. Okay, just let me finish this up and then I'll be right there.